Imagine this. Two people walk into a clinic, one looks overweight and the other looks kind of fit. They are almost the same age, living similar lifestyles. But when their blood tests come back, the results are shocking. The healthy-looking person has worse blood sugar, high cholesterol, and early signs of heart disease. And the overweight one, surprisingly not that bad. So what's actually going on here? Everything you have been told so far say the exact opposite. What is the dilemma there? And what are we missing? To understand this paradox, we have to look at obesity from a completely different angle. Because obesity isn't just about how someone looks or what their BMI says, what really matters is what fat is doing inside your body and which type of fat is in control. Is it the subcutaneous fat or the far more dangerous visceral fat? Because not all fat is the same, different types of fat behave very differently when it comes to your metabolism and your health. And there are two main types of fat: subcutaneous fat, which is the kind that sits just underneath your skin, and the visceral fat, or the kind of fat that hides deep inside your abdominal cavity. And that second type is the dangerous one, because it's far more metabolically active. It builds abnormal blood vessels, raises the risk of heart disease, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and many more chronic diseases, releasing more pro-inflammatory chemicals that keep your body in a constant state of low-grade inflammation. And that inflammation is the root cause of dozens of chronic diseases. So fat tissue, or what we call adipose tissue, isn't just a storage space for extra calories. It is an active organ. It communicates with your brain, interacts with your immune system, affects hormones, sexual function, and testosterone levels, and constantly sends chemical signals throughout your body. And interestingly, the signal fat tissue sends in the body are completely different in obese people compared to lean, healthy people. If you're lean with good muscle mass and a balanced fat tissue actually works for you. It releases anti-inflammatory signals like TGF-beta, IL-4, IL-10, and IL-13. This signal helping protect your body, calming things down, and keeping inflammation under control. But in obesity, that balance starts to break. Adipocytes grow larger, overloaded with excessive fat, and instead of sending anti-inflammatory signals or calming signals, they switch sides. Now they release pro-inflammatory chemicals like interleukin-6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, resistin, bisphosphate, and many more. And these molecules aren't harmless. They keep your body in a constant state of internal stress and inflammation. So the same tissue, and in this case fat tissue, in a lean person and in an obese person can behave in completely opposite ways. At first, this shift from anti-inflammatory state to pro-inflammatory state might not seem like a big deal, but over time, if it continues, it creates something dangerous: chronic low-grade inflammation or metabolic inflammation. This isn't the kind of inflammation that makes you feel sick right away, no fever, no obvious pain, no clear warning sign, but silently in the background, it starts damaging tissue throughout your entire body. And that's why this hidden inflammation can affect multiple organs and systems at once. It can lead to serious conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, abnormal cholesterol levels, atherosclerosis, obstructive sleep apnea, and even many types of cancers. Subcutaneous fat and visceral fat don't just look different. Sometimes they behave in completely different ways. Visceral fat is the kind that is stored deep inside your abdominal cavity, wrapped around vital organs like your liver, your pancreas, your intestine. And this is the dangerous one, because visceral fat is highly metabolically active and it has direct access to portal circulation, the blood flow that goes straight to your liver from your abdominal organs. So whatever inflammatory substances this fat releases, they go directly to your liver. And the liver has a central role in your metabolism. That's why visceral fat can disrupt the metabolism almost immediately. And over time, this increases the risk of conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, and many more. Now compare that with subcutaneous fat, the fat sitting just underneath your skin. Its role in heart disease isn't as clear. For a long time, it has been considered more like a storage site, a place where your body packs excessive calories almost safely. And some researchers even go a step further, and they believe it can be somewhat protective, because subcutaneous fat, especially the fat in the glutofemoral region, stores excessive energy away from your other organs, preventing it from turning into the far more dangerous visceral fat. But don't get it wrong, that doesn't mean it's completely harmless. Think of it like this: it's not a good fat. It's just the least bad option, which kind of the safer place that helps prevent something worse from happening. For decades, doctors have relied on BMI or body mass index to measure obesity. It's a simple formula: your weight in kilograms divided to your height in meters squared. But what if this number has been misleading us all along? Because it's not a reliable predictor of obesity-related diseases like diabetes, high cholesterol, fatty liver, and high blood sugar or metabolic syndrome. You can have a normal BMI and still be at high risk, and someone with higher than normal BMI might not be at risk for obesity-related diseases. But why? For example, a bodybuilder with a lot of muscles might have the same BMI as someone with high amount of body fat, but their health condition could be very different. So people turn to something much better than BMI to evaluate risk of obesity-associated medical condition, waist circumference, because it measures central obesity and gives a slightly better idea of risk evaluation than body weight or BMI. But even that has a problem. It still can't tell what kind of fat is sitting there in your abdomen. Is it the safer subcutaneous fat or the dangerous visceral fat? The most accurate predictor of risk is actually the ratio of visceral fat to subcutaneous fat. In simple terms, how much dangerous fat you have compared to the safer kind. The problem is that measuring this ratio isn't simple. It requires advanced imaging like CT scan, MRI, and DEXA scan, which are expensive and not practical for large population studies. But based on what we know today, this ratio is one of the best predictors of obesity-related chronic diseases. The higher it is, the higher the risk. Because deep inside your visceral fat, something important is happening with your immune system. As fat cells grow large, they start attracting immune cells, especially macrophages. These are the same cells your body normally uses to fight infections. But in obesity, they begin to change. And there are two main types of macrophages, M1 and M2. We put a lot of time and effort into scripting, recording, and editing these videos. If this kind of content helps you even a little, give that like button a gentle hit and subscribe. It really helps us. M1 macrophages are pro-inflammatory, which means they are aggressive, destructive, designed to attack and kill. M2 macrophages are the opposite. They are anti-inflammatory, calming, focused on repair and protection. And under normal conditions, your body needs both. M1 cells to fight off infections and kill pathogens, and M2 cells to step in afterward to calm things down and reduce inflammation. Because the same inflammation which is necessary to kill germs can damage your own tissue as well, especially if it goes on for too long. That's why M2 macrophages came in, they shut down the response and protect your body from unnecessary damage when the threat is gone. But in obesity, this balance flips. Now M1 macrophage take over, which is pro-inflammatory and aggressive type, and these cells start releasing more inflammatory signals. So, now it is not just fat cells causing inflammation, your immune system joins the fight. And this creates a vicious cycle. More visceral fat leads to more inflammation activates more immune cells that lead to even more inflammation, and over time this cycle drives insulin resistance. Your body has to produce more insulin to compensate, and insulin is again fat-storing hormone, so it pushes your body to store even more energy, leading to more weight gain, and this cycle repeats again and again and again. This is one of the key pathways that lead to type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, heart disease, and other obesity-associated medical conditions. Beyond inflammation and immune activation, central obesity also disrupts hormonal system. Fat tissue produces hormones called adipokines, and more than 50 of them have already been identified, each one playing a role in metabolism, appetite, immunity, and energy balance. Take leptin, for example. This hormone travels to your brain and signals that you have had enough food, helping suppress appetite and prevent overeating. In a healthy system, this works perfectly. But when fat tissue is chronically overactive, leptin levels stay high for too long, and over time the brain stops responding to it. This is called leptin resistance. So the signal is there, but the brain ignores it. And this is exactly what happened in many obese individuals. High leptin, no response, poor appetite control, and continued weight gain. Then there is adiponectin. This is protective hormone. It reduces inflammation and improves insulin sensitivity, but there is the paradox. The more fat mass you have, the lower your adiponectin level becomes. So right when your body needs protection the most, it starts losing it. Another hormone is resistant, which works against insulin, increasing blood glucose and contribute to insulin resistance. And then there is viscetin, a molecule highly expressed in visceral fat with insulin-like activity. But it is also strongly linked to inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. And these are just a few examples. Fat tissue releases dozens of hormone and signaling molecules, each influencing metabolism in its own ways. So once again, fat is not just a passive storage organ, it is an active organ secreting hormones, pro-inflammatory chemicals, anti-inflammatory chemicals, and more. When you put all this together, obesity isn't just excessive fat, it's a complex condition involving chronic inflammation, immune system dysregulation, hormonal imbalance, and metabolic disruption. And all of these systems constantly interact with each other. That's why obesity increases the risk of so many diseases at once. But even today, we still don't fully understand every biochemical and physiological mechanism behind it. What we do know, however, is already enough to take action. Lifestyle play a major role. Dietary changes, especially reducing excessive calorie intake, have been shown in some studies to reduce inflammation. But a few other studies suggest that diet alone may not always produce a strong, long-lasting anti-inflammatory effect. Exercise, on the other hand, has a much more consistent and powerful impact. It reduces inflammation, improves insulin sensitivity, and helps restore balance in hormone and immune pathways, even when weight loss with exercise is minimal. And because obesity affects so many systems at once, it cannot be managed with one single approach. It requires a multidisciplinary effort. Doctors, nurses, dietitians, and exercise specialists all working together and with the overweight patients to achieve the best result. Because this is not just about willpower, it's about understanding the biology behind it. So the next time you think about obesity, don't just think about body weight or appearance. Think about what's happening underneath. A silent inflammatory process, a disrupted hormonal system, and an immune response that never fully turns off, wearing your body down year by year. And by the time it becomes visible on the outside, it has often already been developing for years. That's why prevention matters, because stopping this process early is far easier than reversing it later. And sometimes the most dangerous fat is the one that you cannot see.